140 years since this Catholic nun passed away, but her body remains mysteriously unchanged. Welcome to the latest issue of Tuy and Matt. Have you ever wondered what happens after we die? This question has troubled many people for centuries. But if there are those who keep their bodies intact, even decades after their passing, do you find that unreasonable? If curious, let's explore this fascinating topic with Tuy and Matt right away. We will together uncover the miraculous story of Saint Bernadette of Lourdes. One of the world's largest religions, Catholicism, is not only prominent for its teachings but also for its mysteries. The life and death of Bernadette Subaru is a vivid testament to this. Bernadette spent her entire life spreading God's message, and the miracles in her life were truly impressive, to the extent that she was canonized. Born in January 1844, Bernadette was the eldest daughter in a family of 9 children. Living in difficult circumstances, her parents were ordinary laborers in France, and raising 9 children under tough economic conditions was an immense challenge. However, her grandmother, a relatively wealthy woman and a tavern owner, partially supported the family. Looking back at Bernadette's life, we see that from initial hardships, she overcame everything to achieve extraordinary things. Her perseverance and faith not only changed her own life, but also left a profound mark on humanity, reminding us of the power of belief and sacrifice. Her story is proof that ordinary people can create miracles in life. Nevertheless, Bernadette's family life was not easy when economic crisis hit France. From her early childhood, they lived in poverty and suffering accumulated. As Bernadette fell ill at a very young age, she contracted cholera and suffered from severe asthma throughout her life, leaving her health very weak. She was only 1.4 meters tall, but Bernadette always strived to live like other children, still attending school run by nuns. Despite frequent illness, she did her best in her studies. The Subaru family faced increasing difficulties to the point they had to move into a small cellar, which had once been a prison, and relied on relatives for help. They endured harsh living conditions to survive. On February 11, 1858, while gathering firewood with her sister Toinette and a friend near Grotto de Massabielle, a miraculous event occurred. At that time, Bernadette was just 14 years old. Her sister and friend crossed a small stream in front of the grotto, while Bernadette stopped to remove her shoes. As she bent down, she suddenly heard a strong wind, but nothing was around her cave entrance. Suddenly, she saw a shimmering light and a white figure emerge from the grotto. Bernadette later said it was a young girl, but her sister and friend saw nothing. 3 days after the first appearance, Bernadette and her sister Marie, along with some other girlfriends, returned to the grotto after Sunday Mass. Suddenly, Bernadette knelt and said she had seen the figure again. The image appeared and then vanished. But Bernadette reported that the figure asked her to return to the grotto daily for an extended period. This period is called the Quinzaine Sacrée, or the Holy Fortnight. Initially, Bernadette's parents, especially her mother, felt ashamed and tried to prevent her from going to the grotto. Nevertheless, as news of the visions spread, they eventually allowed her to go. When people heard about Bernadette's visions, most believed she was seeing the Virgin Mary. However, Bernadette herself never confirmed that. She only described a woman she saw, who had a white veil wrapped around her head, a blue sash, and feet adorned with bright golden roses. This image resembles a statue of the Virgin Mary at a local church. But Bernadette always refused to confirm anything specific. As humility and sincerity made many feel she wasn't, or wanting to make grand claims. She simply shared what she experienced without attaching specific labels or meanings to it. This also created a vast space for others to freely think and feel about her visions. Although many claimed what she saw was the Virgin Mary, Bernadette maintained her position. She didn't want to turn her experiences into subjects of controversy or dogma. For her, describing the images she saw was enough, and she let people freely seek the truth in their own way. This very humility created a special connection between her and those around her, making them feel invited to participate in the spiritual journey she had undergone. Bernadette's story quickly spread throughout the community, attracting much attention. As you might imagine, there were those who completely believed her words, but also many who were skeptical and critical. Some even claimed she was just a mentally ill girl. unable to distinguish between reality and illusion. However, when Bernadette began showing results from her visions, trust gradually increased and doubts began to subside. For example, just days after the visions began, Bernadette saw the figure had asked her to drink water from the sacred spring near the grotto. They did it, and he had herb growing nearby as an act of penance. She decided to follow that guidance, and surprisingly, a miracle occurred. The water source, which had been muddy at the grotto, suddenly turned into clean water, something no one. This transformation made skeptics reconsider. They began questioning whether something supernatural was truly happening. This event not only attracted the attention of the around but also drew many from distant regions, seeking hope and healing. More and more people believed Bernadette was entrusted with a sacred mission, and the miracles she experienced weren't merely coincidental, but the result of faith and sanctity. This initiated a wave of pilgrimage and deep spiritual exploration in the community, binding people together through experiences they couldn't explain. About a month later, Bernadette announced that the woman in her vision had requested the building of a chapel and the organization of a procession. Everything was truly, but there was still a major problem. Bernadette didn't know who the woman was. During the apparition, on the 16th, she asked the woman's name, but only received a smile. After asking the Immaculate Conception, with no additional name or information, these apparitions continued until July 16. But that year, however, although the encounters had ended, the impact of Bernadette's visions was only beginning. Afterwards, the Catholic Church began investigating the story to determine its authenticity. In 1862, the Church confirmed that the apparitions were real. This further strengthened the belief in what Bernadette had experienced. One of the interesting things is that the spring Bernadette discovered became one of the world's largest pilgrimage sites. This place not only attracts believers but many seeking healing and hope. The miracles occurring here have made many trust in the sacred power Bernadette experienced. To this day, this healing site continues to attract attention. According to reports from the Lourdes Medical Office, at least 70 healing cases have been recorded from the sacred spring, and scientists still haven't found explanations for these miracles. The Lourdes Commission examined Bernadette after the visions and took water samples for analysis. They discovered the water had high mineral content, but nothing unusual related to the confirmed healing cases. Meanwhile, Bernadette believed that faith and prayer were what helped heal the sick. In addition to healing miracles, her visions also led to the construction of a chapel in town. Over time, many chapels and churches were built in Lourdes. All were inspired by the story and experiences of Bernadette. Today, the sanctuary of Our Lady of Lourdes has become one of the most popular Catholic pilgrimage sites, attracting nearly 1 million pilgrims each year. Many of them come to worship and drink water from the miraculous spring. Regarding Bernadette's later years, you might think she would be happy with the fame of the spring and the impact of the visions she created. However, the reality was quite different. Bernadette did not like the attention she received from the apparitions. Therefore, she decided to move to a boarding school run by the Sisters of Charity of Nevers. This was also where she learned to read and write after years of struggling with illness. In July 1866, Bernadette along with 42 other girls received their habits, joining the Sisters of Charity at the St. Gildard Convent in Nevers. Here, she was given the name Sister Marie Bernard by the Mother Superior and began a life devoted to Saint Bernard, the saint she always. Bernadette spent much time copying texts related to the saint, marking a new turning point in her life. She continued living at the convent, working as a hospital assistant and engaging in embroidery, creating exquisite items like vestments and woven cloths. Although once the center of attention, Bernadette always maintained her humility. She once shared that her visions were merely a way to enrich the message of the gospel. She was just an instrument in God's hands. During this time, Bernadette watched the development of Lourdes as it became a famous pilgrimage site. Although unable to attend the consecration of the Church of the Immaculate Conception in 1876, she remained connected to her hometown, which had flourished thanks to her apparitions. However, Bernadette's health continued to deteriorate. She faced chronic asthma along with bone and pulmonary tuberculosis. For several months, she could not participate in the convent's activities. Finally, in April 1879, Bernadette had Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for me. Her body was buried in the chapel of St. Joseph in the convent. In the following years and in 1921, Bernadette was beatified by Pope Pius XI and later canonized in December 1933. However, even after her death, Bernadette's story continued to generate controversy, particularly regarding her body. In September 1909, the Church decided to exhume Bernadette's body under the supervision of doctors and nuns. They were surprised to find that her body appeared not to be decomposed. Her crucifix and rosary had oxidized, but Bernadette's body remained intact. This discovery greatly contributed to her canonization. Afterward, her body was washed and reburied in a new coffin. In 1919, a second examination took place, and doctors noted signs of embalming forming on her skin. They observed that Bernadette's skin had disappeared in some places but remained intact in many others. A third examination occurred in 1925, when the Church took some samples from her body and sent them to Rome. From these samples, a wax mask was created to represent the incorruptibility of her body. The intactness of Bernadette's body is a miracle but not rare. In Christian faith, incorruptibility is often considered a sign of holiness and connection with God. A body must be immune to natural decomposition to be considered incorrupt. But preservation does not necessarily mean complete integrity. Even partial non-decomposition can be a sign of this. Most incorrupt bodies respected by the Church today, including Bernadette's, have been cared for to maintain their appearance. There are currently about 100 recognized incorrupt bodies, mainly in Italy and some other European countries. It's likely that in the past, many other bodies have not been discovered, making it challenging to determine the exact number. Saint Bernadette was a woman with a life and death full of miracles. From her struggles with illness to the apparitions, these events made her a saint. She truly was a special person. With all she went through, it's understandable why her body has withstood the test of time. And you, do you believe in the incorruptibility of the body? If you enjoy similar fascinating discoveries, don't forget to subscribe to the secret channel Beyond the Veil. Thank you for watching the video until the end, and see you again.